I've been traveling around the world for the past 10 years, often in the throes of luxury and often for pennies on the dollar. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the most common mistakes that travelers make and how to avoid them so you can travel more and travel better. First, before you actually go on a trip, you have to actually plan and book your flights. And that's where most travelers make the first big mistake, paying with the wrong credit card. You see, there are quite a few factors to consider when it comes to which credit card to use to pay for your flights. First off, since flights are typically quite expensive, you'll want to make sure you're earning the maximum number of points from that purchase. Take a look at different credit cards and see what the earning rate is for travel and airfare specifically. You'll find that some credit cards will net you 2 points, 3 points, or even 5 points per dollar spent, so make sure to pay for your flights with credit cards that will earn you more than just 1 point per dollar spent, which is not very attractive at all. Now ideally, you'll also want to have insurance when you travel. While there's absolutely nothing wrong with buying travel insurance on the side, and I would definitely recommend having insurance, if you're on a budget, you should consider paying for your travel expenses with a credit card that comes with travel insurance included. These are almost always found on travel credit cards that come with an annual fee, but these cards can help you cover unexpected expenses if your flight is delayed or canceled, or if your baggage is delayed or gets lost. Now lastly, if you have the right credit card, you might be able to earn some easy rebates on your flight spending as well. These offers can be found with select issuers, and the most well-known one is American Express. Examples include spend $1,500 and get $300 back on Qantas flights, or spend $200 and get $80 back on JetBlue. These offers can show up periodically throughout the year on the Amex website or app, and it's best to keep an eye out for these offers as they can help you save some extra money for flights that you would have paid for anyway, especially if you can earn maximum points and get travel insurance on this credit card as well. Now, you've booked your tickets and made your plans. The week before you leave, you're probably getting ready to start packing. Or if you're like me, you're starting to think about packing the night before the trip. But when you pack, be careful not to make the second big mistake, picking the wrong suitcase. Go online and look up what baggage you're permitted based on the ticket you booked and what plane you're flying. Not all carry-ons are created equal, and not all aircraft are either. If you're flying on a small regional aircraft like a Q400 or a CRJ, the overhead storage bins are probably a lot smaller than what you'll find on a large Boeing 777 or an Airbus A350. This means you might want to consider packing a smaller bag or be ready to check in your bag at the gate if it won't fit on board with you. Now, even if you're flying on a plane with larger overhead bins, some airlines might have strict size limitations or enforce the number of carry-on items you can bring. This is particularly true with ultra low-cost carriers, where you have to pay different types of ancillary fees for things like baggage or seat selection, but some larger legacy airlines recently have begun to crack down on the size of carry-ons being brought on board as well. And in particular, pay attention to popular suitcase models online that are advertised as carry-on plus. These sizes might not fit in the bag sizer that airlines use to measure your bag, so you might want to go with a standard carry-on size instead. Once you've packed your bags and headed to the airport, the next critical mistake that travelers often make is waiting in the regular security queue just like everybody else. You've got to get a trusted traveler program, like Nexus or Global Entry. These programs can save you a ton of money and save you time at the airport compared to waiting in the regular queues. Nexus is a program open to both Americans and Canadians. And since you've got to do an interview before you get your Nexus card, cardholders are considered more trusted when it comes to going through a security queue. You can use Nexus to get expedited processing into both US and Canada. You can use it to bypass the security line at airports, and you can even use it at land crossings. Global Entry is another trusted traveler program that only gets you expedited entry into the United States. If you get Nexus, you'll also get Global Entry, but it's also possible to apply only for Global Entry on its own. The good news here is that applying only for Global Entry is usually a lot quicker and easier. If you're interested in getting a Nexus card, the application fee is $50 for a Nexus card that'll last you 5 years. And the great news is that there's many travel credit cards listed here that will cover the cost of your application. So it's definitely worthwhile to get yourself a Nexus card, which can make the difference next time between catching your flight or not. Now, after you clear security, here's where most travelers make the next huge mistake: going straight to the gate to wait for their flight. Instead, you'll want to hit up an airport lounge based on the airport lounges that you have access to thanks to your credit cards. Many travel credit cards come with a membership to Priority Pass or Dragon Pass, which are two very similar lounge networks with access to over 1,000 lounges worldwide. These lounges are typically a great place to relax, work, have some free food and drink, and in some cases, even take a shower. And by leveraging your credit card benefits to get lounge access, You no longer have to wait at the gate just like everybody else. Now, if you have the American Express Platinum card or Business Platinum card, you'll have access to an even wider range of airport lounges, most notably the American Express Centurion lounges. Centurion lounges are known for having a large spread of hot food, comfortable seating, and elevated experiences within the lounge. Now, there's only a few of them around the world, and they're mostly concentrated in the United States, but if you do visit a Centurion lounge on your next trip, then it can really make your travel experience a lot better. So before you head to the airport for your next trip, make sure to do some research as to which lounges are available to you. You can use websites like loungebuddy.com to find out what lounges you might have access to before your next flight. And make sure to be discerning because not all lounges are created equal, so it's best to look for some reviews if possible. If you don't know where to look for reviews, then check out princeoftravel.com, where not only do we have lots of airline lounge reviews, but also lots of flight and hotel reviews as well. Now, when you're actually on board the plane, there's still one huge mistake that travelers often make, and that's accepting whatever seat that you're getting assigned instead of choosing your seat yourself. Where you're sitting on the plane can make a real difference to your travel experience, and especially if you're flying in a premium cabin, you'll want to look at the seat map in advance to find out which seats are the best and go ahead and select that seat before somebody else does. Depending on the airline and aircraft, some seats are going to have extra privacy, some are going to have extra features, for example, extra space at the bulkhead, and some are going to be farther away from the galley or the bathrooms, and so they'll be less bothersome. You can use websites like SeatGuru and Aerolopa.com to find out the best seat on your given plane, and for the savvy viewers among you, leave a comment below to let me know why I seem to have made this very mistake on this particular flight. Now, once you've gotten off your flight and arrived at your destination, the next huge mistake that you as a traveler might be guilty of making is simply accepting whatever base level room the hotel gives you. You see, there's very much an art to securing amazing hotel upgrades just like this one, oftentimes for free, and when I travel, I almost never end up getting the room that I had originally booked. Instead, I almost always get a better room or oftentimes a suite to enjoy and have more space to move around. Now, there's a few ways you can fix this mistake and do the same for yourself. Number one, if you stay in hotels frequently enough to have elite status with a major program, that's gonna be your best bet to get upgrades as part of your status benefits. But just because you're entitled to those benefits doesn't mean the hotel will proactively offer it every time. Instead, you'll often have to ask, and that's what's referred to as the art of sweet talking. Look up the available rooms for the duration of your stay, and then ask the hotel either through email, chat, or in person upon arriving for check-in, whether they might be kind enough to extend that suite upgrade for you as part of your membership benefits. But what if you don't actually stay at hotels frequently enough to have elite status? Well, the good news is there's a secret way to get benefits just like an elite member would without actually having to have status. And that's by taking advantage of special booking channels known as luxury hotel preferred partner programs that only select travel advisors have access to, including, it just so happens, ourselves here at Prince of Travel. We've recently launched our in-house travel agency and can help you book hotels on your behalf. And by booking with us through one of the major preferred partner programs, you'll have access to unique benefits like daily breakfast for 2 people, a 1-category room upgrade, early check-in and late checkout subject to availability, and a $100 property credit that you can spend however way you like when you're staying at the hotel, whether that's a drink at the bar, having lunch in the restaurant, or a luxurious spa treatment. These programs are available with all of the world's luxury chains, including Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt, as well as Four Seasons, Rosewood, Shangri-La, and more. And when you book through one of these programs, you'll likewise be entitled to an upgrade upon arrival if there's availability. And generally speaking, most hotels are pretty good about extending this upgrade proactively without you having to ask, although you can always try asking for an even nicer upgrade just to see what they say. Now, the next huge mistake that travelers often make is disrespecting the local customs when you're out here sightseeing. For example, here at the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, you've got to come with long sleeves and long pants. Last time I came here, I was wearing shorts and I had to buy an extra set of pants down in the store below. This time I've learned my lesson and I've got long pants on. By the way, if you're visiting the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, I'd recommend coming around sunset, around prayer hour, and it's super beautiful. You get to see the mosque in the daylight, during the afternoon sunset glow, and during the evenings as well. Now, the last type of common travel mistake that I often see is when you're here at the airport trying to call your transportation into the city, or in fact, getting your transportation here to the airport. In these cases, oftentimes travelers make the mistake of straight up getting a taxi, which may not always be the best option. Always check your Uber or Lyft apps to see if they have a presence in the city that you're going to, especially if you use Uber and they have that extra Aeroplan partnership, and you can earn extra Aeroplan points simply for taking Uber rides to and from the airports. But Uber and Lyft aren't the only taxi services that you should check, because there's often going to be local transportation options as well that can sometimes be cheaper or more convenient. For example, in Southeast Asia, you've got the Grab taxi app. In Russian-speaking countries, you've got Yandex Taxi. And here in the Middle East, you've got Careem, which is an app that you should download if you come around to this part of the world for taxi services that can be cheaper and more plentiful. Make sure you do some research as to the best local transportation options so that you're ready to go when you arrive. And now that we've talked about some of the most common travel mistakes that travelers are often guilty of making, you'll definitely want to know about some of the worst credit card mistakes that you need to avoid if you want to maximize your credit cards while you travel. And you can check out this video on screen right now to find out about those mistakes.